All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome. My name is Crystal Sayers, and I am the owner and certified body talk practitioner at New Beginnings Health and Wellness. And it is just a pleasure to have you guys here watching with us tonight and participating. And I have this amazing lady here named Anne Klausner, and she's an exercise therapist. She's giving me thumbs up because I said her last name right. And I'm so excited to be collaborating with you, Anne. Thank you so much for coming on. And we're going to be talking a bit about how she became an exercise therapist and kind of what led her down this road. And then also tips and tricks that you can do to empower your senses and to feel great. And these are simple things that you can do. So, Anne, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, where are you from, and how did you become an exercise therapist?
Okay, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me to be in your amazing special group this evening. This is so exciting, especially since the weather's starting to warm up and we're all getting that itch to be more active. So this is perfect. My story is a long story. I've actually been working in healthcare for 20 years. I started as an aquatic therapist. Actually, I was, the type of person, I always had these desk jobs, these, administrative jobs. And then I had kids. And I said, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to come home every day in a bad mood because of some person in the office who got on my nerves and from sitting all day, which I don't like anyway. And I said, I'm not going to do that anymore. So I started to search for something different to do. And I did a class on reflexology, which led to a 2-year reflexology program. So I am a certified reflexologist. This was in Israel, by the way. At that time, I was living in Israel. After reflexology, I thought, that's nice. Not sure it's what I want to do with my life. And somebody said, you love to swim. I love to swim. I've always loved the water. I love to be with people, to work with people. And they said, why don't you become a hydrotherapist? I was like, what is that? So I went to check it out, and it really was a passion. For 15 years, I worked as a hydrotherapist. When you take people who are injured into a warm water swimming pool, their pain dissipates. There's no pain in the water. It's really miraculous. I loved doing it. There are upsides and downsides to every job. I did that for 15 years. We came to Canada. There isn't a lot of hydrotherapy work in Canada, unfortunately. Very few therapy pools, whereas in Europe, South America, I believe also Australia, you have quite a bit of hydrotherapy, aquatherapy. It's in all the hospitals in Israel and in Europe. It doesn't seem to catch on here for some reason. So without a lot of work and bills to pay, I said I've got to figure this out. So I certified as a personal trainer. And I said, I can't work in a gym. I'm just not that type of person. I'm not the type of, let's go, no pain, no gain. No, that's just not me. That's not what I like to do. So I tried to figure it out. What am I going to do here? How am I going to work this into my love, my passion of helping people? And I went to a personal trainers conference, and there was a workshop on neurology. And that was it. I was home. I found what I need to do because I've always loved to read books about neurology, stories, movies. What's his name? Oliver Sacks. All of these guys. I find our brains so fascinating. And ever since then, I do my yearly 4-day workshop. I go to the States. It's this intensive 4 days of learning all the nerves in the body and what they do and how to activate them. And I come home and I cry because my daughter who's in university, who's learning the same thing, remembers it after, 10 minutes. And it takes me 3 months. I keep at it and I learn it and I get it. And I don't really have to remember the name of every single nerve to understand how it's going to work in your body and how we can activate it to make your body work for you. So that's how I got to be an exercise therapist. I'm certified by a company called Z Health Education in the US, who provides all of my neurology education every year. And I absolutely love it. I love when I see the fast change in people. I love when I see, just for example, a lady I worked with who was after a motor vehicle accident. She'd been in a car crash. She'd been hit on the side. She couldn't lift her arm more than this high. And when she'd already finished physiotherapy, the physiotherapist already said, "Oh, that's the most I can do for you. That's it." And when I assessed her, I noticed that her right eye wasn't moving. And she said, yeah, there'd been some bruising to her eye as well, but the doctors all said not to worry about it. I said, okay, well, let's try to get your eye to work. And once we got her right eye to work and to see that this arm exists, she was able to raise it up all the way. It took 3 weeks.
Wow, that is fascinating.
So
So how is it that that eye was connected to that arm? Can you share a little bit? Like how do you know that? Obviously you've studied neurology, so
it's really, let's go all the way back to basics with your nervous system. If your brain can't feel it and your brain can't see it, your brain can't move it,
okay. Interesting.
right?
Can you say that again?
If your brain can't feel it or see it, it can't move it.
Wow. That is really interesting. And
Isn't
within
that cool?
3 weeks.
It's not creepy. If you have numbness and your vision isn't seeing it's there, how are you going to be able to move it? Your brain doesn't know it's there.
Right. That's amazing. And within 3 weeks, the fact that it was 3 weeks only before
Yeah.
you had her moving, I thought, I think that's really interesting that you were able to take things beyond maybe what some of the other sort of more conventional measures would normally do. So yeah, that was really interesting too.
Because usually when I go to physiotherapy, and I don't want to say anything bad about physiotherapists, they are a tremendous service. But the traditional methodology of our healthcare today is to treat where it hurts. But where it hurts, as you know so well, Crystal, that is not the source of the problem.
Right.
We have to treat the source.
So can you talk a little bit more about that? How do you figure out the source?
It's a puzzle, right? Just like you, it's a puzzle. We're in the same boat with that. So every time I meet somebody, I do an assessment, and it's impossible to do in an hour and a half. The person will be too exhausted. So every week it's a little bit more and a little bit more. But I always start, are their eyes able to do the creepy doll thing, like this? Are their eyes able to do this without them getting dizzy? Because if you can't do that, your whole neurological function is affected.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, that's. And you know what? And I was going to tell this later. I'll tell you this story right now, since we're on the topic. Before I started to study neurology, I was terrified of driving over bridges. Terrified. Like I would hyperventilate. I would be like, that feeling, that anxiety. And to the point where one time I was driving my son to the airport, I had tears streaming down my face. He's like, "Mom, are you okay?" And I wanted to say, "No, why don't we just pull over and call a taxi?" But I couldn't do that, right? And I did my first neurology workshop. And as you probably know from the various workshops you've done, you work in partners, right, to practice the things that you learn. So I was working with my partner. They said, your left eye doesn't move. I was like, really? My left eye doesn't move? So no, we're doing, just very basic movements. My left eye wasn't moving. So when you drive over a bridge here in North America, we're on the right side of the highway. My eyes are only seeing the right side of the road. All I see is the guardrail. And my brain goes into a panic that I'm going to drive over the guardrail.
Oh.
So I started to do my exercises religiously. I can now drive over bridges, no problem.
Wow.
And
So all the panic and everything was like once you could move that left eye.
full range of vision, yeah. And I'd
Oh,
be driving places, I'd be like, oh, I never saw that before. Like everything on the left side. Oh, I never noticed that before. Yeah. But who checks this? Even when you go to the eye doctor, they do this so quickly, right? They don't really see if you're able to go there and hold it. I'm not checking vision, I'm checking the muscles. We have 6 muscles that control our eyes. Do your muscles work? Can you do this in a coordinated way with your hands where your eyes have to be able to do stuff in coordination as well?
wow.
Right.
Awesome.
It's so cool.
That is so cool. So I have to tell you guys this, like when I met Anne, I mean, we just happened to meet. I think I saw her on a networking event and I thought, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll get to know her and just see, what comes of it. And she starts telling me about what she's doing with all of this in terms of the senses and neurology. And I was like, she had me at, within 2 minutes. And I just was like, oh my gosh, we totally need to do something because I love what you're doing, and the fact that you understand, so much of the neurology, probably way better than I do, but it's just, and how that works, like the fact that the right eye, needed to actually recognize that this person's arm wasn't actually functioning, and then doing the exercises, and then as a result, the arm starts functioning. And so that to me is so fascinating. But you'd have to study neurology to really understand probably a lot of that too,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah. I'm not 25 anymore, and I have to say that it's not that the brain doesn't work as well, but we have a lot more on our mind at this age. Whereas, the kids at university, that's all they have to do. But we have to take care of the household, we have to take care of the business, we have to take care of the study. It's a lot going on. So I really do have compassion for myself that it's a lot harder to study at this age.
right,
A lot
absolutely.
harder for so all of you people out there who want to study at a later age, be compassionate with yourselves. We have a lot more going on, a lot more on our plate, so it is a lot harder.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's so great. So you have some, I know you have some tips and tricks and stuff, and I commented about digital dementia. I'm curious, do you want to start there,
Yeah,
or where do you want
let's
to
start
start?
with that. So I
Let's do
actually
it.
have a couple of slides. I have a couple of slides that I'm going to show you guys to, and we're just going to move down here.
And for those who are just coming on, this is Anne Klausner, and she's based in Ontario. She's an amazing person. She's an exercise therapist, and she's studied neurology and the effects of the nervous system. And she's an amazing person, and we're going to have some great things happening. She has a great offer as well tonight that is super cheap. And I also just want to say that if you're watching tonight, and you want to feel great, and that's what this is about, is simple ways to help you feel good. Please, just keep watching. And if you are watching and you've just come on, please say hello in the chat. And I'm kind of keeping an eye on that. So if people have questions as she's talking, I'm going to be able to ask those. There is a little bit of a lag, so we may have to backtrack a little bit here and there, but there is room for questions. So any questions you have, please just pop that in the chat, and I'll make sure that I get those questions to Anne. Thanks, guys. All right, Anne, take it away.
Okay, so let's ask a question in the chat. Everybody answer. How many of you are working from home right now?
Okay, so that's the first one. How many are working from home right now?
I'm going to guess that there's quite a few people. And until I get that reply, from what I am hearing from a lot of people, there are a few people who've actually gone out and done the investment of a proper office. A lot of people are sitting at, kitchen chairs at the kitchen table, or on their sofa. The worst I've heard is people working while sitting on their beds. And this is not good for any part of our body. And I have this vision of this is what so many people are looking like these days, just hunched over their computers, the computers at the wrong height. With this position, you can see the lungs are constricted, it's hard to breathe, and the lungs are pushing into all the internal organs here. The neck is constricted. It's, don't eat while you're like this because you choke, God forbid. And then you have, by the end of the day, you have neck pain, you have back pain, shortness of breath, lethargic, insomnia, not to mention probably not in the best mood. And it's perfectly understandable when you're in this sort of a position all day. Now, add on to that, here's your little Neurology 101. This is our brain. This beautiful, it's not really so colorful, but I like this picture. So this whole big brain here, can you guys see the cursor as I move it?
Yes.
Great. So when you look at this great, big, beautiful brain we have, the majority of our brain is designated to sensory input. Like we all think of our brains as this big thinking machine. Oh, but I can have rockets go to the moon and think of deep philosophy, but actually that's the icing on the cake. The only part of our brain that's really designated to complex thought is this area right here, what we call the prefrontal cortex, which I know that Crystal does a lot of tapping on. All of this has to do with our movement, has to do with our sense of touch, our sense of sensing what's going on inside of our body, our vision, again, our vision, speech, right over here, sense of smell, audio, hearing, all this big area of brain back here is just our being able to breathe and coordination, our sympathetic nervous system. But all of this is our sensory nervous system. And there's a reason, because we weren't really designed to be thinking complex thoughts all day. So if we're not stimulating this whole area, this area here isn't going to work very well either. And that's the part about digital dementia, because our brain is integrated. Everything has to work together in order to work optimally. So if you're not getting sensory input over here, it's hard to keep this part stimulated. That wasn't too complex how I explained it, right? That was okay?
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
We do have some people who are working from home at the moment. Yes.
So if you're sitting all day just trying to activate this thinking area, these other areas are getting bored. They don't have as much blood flow, and it's going to be a little bit challenging to keep your brain working at top speed. We have to have sensory input. And what does that mean, sensory input? That means everybody, as we are sitting, everybody just sit up tall, you stare at the screen, your brain is aware of the chair touching your body. It's aware of your feet on the floor if they're touching the floor. Your brain is aware of the temperature of the room. Your brain is aware of what you see in front of you. What do you hear? Everybody just be quiet for a second. What do you hear? There's sounds in the house. Even if you've told your family to be quiet, there's sounds in the house. There's things that we see, right, all around us. Our brain is always aware of this. Now, what happens is our brain chooses to ignore what is not relevant. Otherwise, we'd go crazy, literally. So we are focusing on the screen. We're choosing to ignore this whole area around us, which I'm going to get to in a minute, actually, when I talk about eyes. But we have to have this awareness because that's what keeps us alive. Our brain's job is to keep us alive at the end of the day. We are mammals. That's our brain's job. And it needs all of the sensory information. It sorts through it integrates it, and decides what's important, what isn't important, what is a threat, what isn't a threat. And as long as you feel safe, you're not going to feel any pain, you're not going to have anxiety. But when your brain isn't sure about the input, it might decide that there's a threat to your existence. And that's when we start to have pain. That's when we start to have shortness of breath, high blood pressure, anxiety, etc., etc., etc. And I'm sure, Crystal, you can speak about that a lot, right? That threat, that sense of threat that sends us into this spiral of health
Yes.
health issues.
Yes.
So let's talk about vision. As you saw on the computer, we're all kind of in tunnel vision right now, aren't we? Except for those who aren't, and they're totally overwhelmed and filled with anxiety because they're listening to everything out there. And like I said before, it's kind of driving them to a place of high anxiety and a place that is not good. But tunnel vision isn't good either, physically or mentally, metaphorically. And what is tunnel vision? Let's do a little exercise together, everybody. So I already spoke about my experience with my eyes. I want you to feel that right now. So without moving your head, and if you have to, just hold your chin in place so you don't move your head. Just look around the room and tell me what you see. Or tell yourself what you see, how much you see. Okay. If you have a pen, grab a pen. If not, just use your finger, your thumb. Okay, I have my little exercise with care pen here that I give all my clients who I work with. And you're gonna hold on to your chin, and you're gonna hold that pen at eye height, right in front of your face. And now, without moving your head, keep looking at that pen as you move it to the left or the right, whichever hand you have it with. Don't let your head move. Keep it in focus. You want to be able to see it with both eyes, so you can only go about 45 degrees. And come back to center. And we're going to go upwards as high as you can without moving your head. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And come back down. And we're going to switch hands, go to the other side. Is there a question?
Not yet.
Because I saw you, your eyes jumped to the chat.
Oh,
And we're going to go.
checking every now and again. Yeah.
We're going to go to the other side. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back to center. And again, go up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take a break. If you feel tension or discomfort on your forehead or around your eyes, that's muscular. That's as if you've done a big bicep curl. Those are the muscles of your eyes saying, oh, I haven't done that for a while. So now, again, without moving your head, look around the room. Are you seeing more of your environment?
I'm finding it's actually easier to notice more. Like it's almost like I can take more in.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Exactly. That's the whole point. And when you have that wider field of vision, you're going to feel safer. I mean, let's face it. Would any of you want to walk around like this all day? I don't think so. I don't think anybody would feel very safe. I'm actually very careful when I do this with people because I was doing a speaking engagement once. And for some reason, 3 days later, I got a phone call from a lady saying, oh, I did what you said and I walked around like this and I hurt myself. I'm like, no, I did not tell you to do that. I'm very sorry. Cannot put that one on me. Yeah, so our eyes, now, when you have a wider field of vision, it's easier to walk around. You're going to feel more balanced. And especially for people who, like myself previously, if you have more vision on one side than the other, and a way to know this is there are a lot of people, you might even know people who, when they go to the supermarket, they always sort of veer to the side. It's very difficult to walk in a straight line, or even if they're out walking, you see people always sort of veering off to the side. That's a visual problem usually, or a vestibular problem, which is usually quite easily fixed.
So when you say vestibula or vestibular, is that correct?
Vestibular, yeah.
Okay. You're talking
The
about,
inner ear,
okay.
and I'm not going to go into that here because that's already getting
Yeah, fair enough.
it's connected.
Yes.
It's connected. So there are people who you notice who always have their head tilted a little bit. Same thing. It has to do with the eyes not working in coordination. I used to need reading glasses to read my phone, always. I don't anymore.
Wow.
I have them here because at night my eyes get a little bit tired. I thought just in case, but I don't need reading glasses anymore. So eye exercises change your world. They really do.
That is amazing. I've actually heard that the muscles in the eyes, like because the eyes take so much information in, the amount, when the muscles are engaged, somehow that sends information into the brain about areas in the body that actually may be, and again, maybe this connects in with that lady that you were talking about with the eyes and the arm. I'm not sure, but in terms of like when the information, like when these muscles are being engaged, or maybe the lack thereof, there is also this correlation between what is going on in the body, but it's actually sending information into the brain. Would you
Yeah, it's there is a really famous saying in neurology, nerves that fire together wire together. So the nerves that control your eyes, that control the movement of your eyes, also have to do with vision. They're right next to all your vagus nerve. They're right next to all these other nerves that go all the way through your body. They're very close to each other. So they receive information from each other. Does that work for you? Does that make sense
Yeah,
to you?
that does make sense, because I mean,
Yeah.
because in Body Talk, we actually have some techniques where we're actually engaging the eye muscles. It's
Yeah.
actually, it's built into the technique, and part of that's because the eye muscles have the ability to, because I guess probably the information that's going in is basically sharing with the brain what needs to be addressed in
There's
that.
also, when it's dark and your eyes constrict and then you go outside and your eyes, the pupils get big, right? That is controlled by your sympathetic nervous system.
There we go. You can probably explain it a little better than I can. It's like,
So that's how the eye function. It's all connected to your sympathetic nervous system. Your ears. You know what I loved when I learned about the nerves? You know how babies go like this when they're tired, or they self-soothe by pulling their ears? Because our vagus nerve is right there. Our vagus nerve is in the ear.
interesting, hey?
So it really does soothe them because they get their vagus nerve to calm down. Why don't you explain to people what the vagus nerve is in case they don't know?
Um, Let me think about this. Sorry, had you put me on the spot here. I wasn't.
You want me to do that? I was sure.
You go ahead.
I know you work with the vagus nerve.
I do a little bit, but not specifically. So that's
Okay.
So training.
It controls our blood pressure, our heart rate, our digestion. So when we
I failed the test. I'm sorry, guys.
I know that you know that. We have this conversation, so I know that you know that. But it's in there, right? And it's right already. It's past the hour for neurology, yes. So yeah, the ears. Do you do stuff with the ears?
A little bit, not a ton at the moment. No, there's probably some other stuff down the road in terms of some of the courses that I would take that would add to that. And I know reflexology is a big one, in terms of using ears and the hands and the feet and
right.
Yeah, so many. Yeah, that's so cool.
It's so cool. The
Yeah.
ears and I don't know how we are for time. Yeah, we're okay, right?
Okay.
So because you brought it up, let's just talk for a minute about the feet, because I think that's another hugely ignored part of our body. Our feet and ankles have 200,000 sensors inside of them, sending messages to our brain about what's going on. And our brain needs to have that information. So, again, if you're sitting all day in a weird position, there's no information going into your feet, your brain starts to worry.
Interesting.
And here's another really cool story that in May 2017, NASA admitted, they released a report where they admitted that astronauts in the space station lose cognitive function. And the reason they think that is because there's no gravity, no pressure on the feet. Their brain is diverting resources searching for the ground. Because we know that the ground is a constant, right? When you're going downstairs and you miss a step, it's like, because your brain knows the floor is supposed to be there.
Right.
But we have to take care of our feet. We have to make sure that we have sensation in the whole sole of our foot. I'm often shocked when I work with people and they have numb areas on their foot. So how can you feel the ground? How do you know where you're walking? So if you have numbness or lack of sensation anywhere in your foot and ankle, you're probably going to have pain somewhere in your body. Because your brain's going to say, I don't know where the ground is. I better do something to slow you down so you don't get hurt.
Right. So I have a question for you. I've just put a little thing there just to see if anybody has any questions, please post them. So I don't have it anymore, but I did. In the heel of my foot, right about here, I had numbness. And it was very odd. It just kind of came on. It lasted maybe about a month. And I still actually coddle that foot thinking, because every time I would move it, it would be a twinge, like a nerve.
Interesting.
Like a sharp nerve twinge. And so I'd have to be really careful how I moved that part of my foot. And I mean, sometimes I experience like the tightness in my leg, right? So I realize it's probably related to that, but I was curious because of the fact that you're talking about the feet. I've never had that happen before where it was just a small section that just like went numb all of a sudden. It was weird.
Okay.
Thoughts on that?
That nerve in your foot, where does it start?
Yeah, I'm like, what?
It starts in your head.
Right. Yeah.
So the problem could be anywhere along the pathway between your head and your foot. Anywhere along that pathway, there could be a little impingement of that nerve, but you're feeling it there.
That is really interesting.
So I can't tell you how many people I've worked with where their doctor has said they have plantar fasciitis. Have you heard of that?
Yes, let's talk about plantar fasciitis. There's lots with that problem.
So in every case that I've met, it hasn't been plantar fasciitis. The nerve that goes into their foot is impinged somewhere else, and they're feeling it in their foot, and the doctor's giving them cream. And once I, work on their back or the top of their leg, the plantar fasciitis goes away.
That is really interesting.
It's
I have a question. Someone's got a question for you. So Amit asks, can unilateral drooping of the eyes be helped?
Yeah, usually. Okay, I cannot say 100%. Usually, just by doing, if I'm doing this and looking up, my eyelids are going up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, especially with older people, we see so much of this, but now even with younger people, everybody's looking down. Everybody's like this, right? I don't know if you can see, I've got my foot that way. We're all like this. These muscles are getting weak. When our eyes look down, where do our eyelids go?
Down.
They go down.
Right.
So most people, everybody who I've worked with so far has had an improvement with the eyelids as they do the eye exercises and looking up. And the posture improves very quickly as well because our eyes are our steering wheel.
Interesting.
Have you ever tried to walk in a straight line if you're looking off to the side?
It doesn't work.
Yeah. So if your eyes are drooping, your posture goes forwards, goes downwards.
Okay. And of course, then you've got gravity. So, Right. Interesting. So
Yeah.
if your eyes are up, then you're kind of going against gravity as well. Is that sort of where you're thinking like that's how the drooping would decrease?
Of the eyes? No, you're just activating those muscles. It's muscles, the muscles and the nerves.
And then there you go. Wow.
That's it. If you don't use a muscle, it's gonna it's gonna get weak and not work. So if you're never opening your eyes all the way, oh my gosh! And how many people you do you work with older people?
I have some, yes. Not
Notice
great.
how we're becoming people like this. We all have claws now because because of the mouse and because we're holding our devices and the steering wheel. Nobody's opening their hands up all the way anymore.
Okay.
And I feel so much worry for our world, which is maybe I'll go into it now, which is why I'm doing this online course. I know I can't reach everybody on a personal one-to-one basis anymore. So that's why it's a course that I developed a couple years ago for chronic pain, but I'm putting it out now for people because I see we're all going into fetal position with so much stress, with not going outside, with being on the computers. And I'm really worried for my neighbors, for my community, for all the people who I know.
So we talked a little bit about the fetal position. Can you just expand on that a little bit more? Like we are going into that, yeah, everybody's hunched over and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
What does that actually do to the body, brain, nervous system, etc.?
So, on the very most basic level, when I sit in a hunched over position, which is the fetal position, I'm actually telling my brain that I'm in danger. So it works both ways. If you're in danger, there's a few famous photographs of people at baseball games where the ball is coming right at them into the stands and they're like this. Because when your brain sees danger, it puts you into fetal position. But if you go into fetal position simply because you're hunched over, you're also sending a signal back to your brain that you are in danger. And then you have anxiety.
Interesting. So how do you get out of that? How do you stop doing that? How do you stop that sort of automatic?
First of all, open your eyes. Open your eyes up wide. Have your computer at a bigger height. Get sensory input. Get sensory input. Wake up your brain, right? It's really complex. There's a lot of reflexes. Actually, when the eyes, again, back to the eyes, here we go. We have a reflex. Trying to think how to, I'm just going to open the window because I'm in this little room and it's getting very hot in here. Just a second. Oh, there we go. When our eyes go down, it actually triggers, not only does it bring our posture down because we're looking at the floor, maybe let's do this as an exercise.
Yes.
Okay, everybody, ready? I want you to just take a couple of breaths looking straight ahead. Okay. Now, as you breathe in, look up. As you breathe out, look down. Look up, breathe in. Look down and breathe out. Now let's try to reverse it. So I want you to breathe in and look down. Breathe out, exhale and look up. Inhale, look down. Exhale, look up. I would love to hear from you which of those scenarios felt easier.
So anybody who wants to comment, feel free just to comment. What was the easiest for you? I think the last one for me was actually easier than the first one.
Looking down as you inhale?
I don't know. That's
okay. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Let's do it again.
Okay.
Look up as you inhale.
No, it's definitely easier looking up. You're right.
Yeah.
I'm actually
yeah. That's the neurology. When we look down, we actually want to bend forwards when we look up. And it makes sense if I want to get something from the top shelf.
Right.
So once my eyes look up, my whole body goes up. I want to go up there.
Right.
It's gravity, it's neurology, it's the steering wheel thing. It all comes together, right?
Others say looking up, or the first one that you did,
Yeah.
as well as the easier one.
It's actually reflexive. When we look down, we want to bend forward. So a very cool reflex that we have is when I was doing the creepy doll before. Oh, if you've ever seen little kids fall, they usually fall with their head up. It's very rare that a small child, a young child, will fall flat on their face. They usually fall with their head up, and that is a reflex. When we have a sudden jolt, our eyes go up, which lifts up our head and lifts up our spine. And last summer, I was walking in the park, and it was very hot, and I decided, oh, I'm just going to go off the trail and walk in between the trees because it'll be cooler. And so I'm walking and I'm looking at the beautiful trees, and I didn't notice the root in the ground. And I flew in the air, and I landed on my hands and knees with my head up. And all I could think was like, it works, it works, it works, it works. I got my reflexes back. Because it works. Whenever the eyes work and the neck works and everything works, even if we do lose our balance, most likely we'll be safe.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, when you feel it on yourself, it's just so cool, so amazing. But it really, we should be moving like kids. When did we stop moving like kids? When did we become afraid to move? At what age? I don't know. But it happens to most of us.
That is a good question. When did we become afraid to move?
Yeah.
Wow.
I
Wow.
don't know.
So do you have any other, I wasn't sure if you had other slides or anything else to show us, but I thought maybe we could do a recap.
I don't think we need the other slides for now. I think the conversation was better actually than the slides.
No worries. So in terms of some tips or tricks that people can do, so we've kind of covered some. Could you sort of just go over them again in terms of like what could we do to kind of really activate our senses? What would be a few things?
First of all, during the day, you know how probably your parents or my parents for sure used to always just don't touch, touch, everybody touch. Have things near your table. This isn't my usual workspace. I have downstairs, I have bubble wrap, I have a tennis ball, I have a spiky ball, I have all sorts of surfaces to be touching. Because our brain loves the feel. Our brain knows that if you have time to touch, like if you have a pet, why do we love touching our pets? It feels good. It's not just the love, it actually feels good, right?
Right.
It calms us. If you have time to pet your pet, your cat or dog, there's no threat to your existence. And my own little theory about bubble wrap is that it's sort of like squeezing a piece of fruit, like a berry. And if you have time to eat, there's no threat to your existence.
Right.
So first of all, touch things. Have things near you that are pleasant for you to touch. Have smells, aromatherapy. Smells that you like, keep them near you. And especially if you're working on the computer, take that break every at least hour and a half, if not more frequently, to move your eyes. Move your eyes. Take your pen. I actually have on my YouTube channel, I have so many tips about the eye exercises and foot exercises. You can find me at Klausner. There are 2 Ann Klausners out there. Don't go to the political one. Don't go to the one who talks politics. That's not me.
Well, we'll make sure that we post the link to your YouTube.
Yeah, we'll post that
there.
Okay, and I've got all the tips about doing the eye exercises. If you can, sit on a yoga ball. Sit on a yoga ball while you're working at your desk. It forces you to sit up straighter. Oh, and here's one of my favorite tips actually. I buy bags of sand. You can get them at the dollar store, you can get them at all sorts of places. I get pillowcases with a zipper, and then I have my own private beach. I pour the sand in the pillowcase and I put my feet on it. Who doesn't love the feel of sand in
Oh,
Jordan?
that's a great idea.
It's so good. And then my son steals it, and then I steal it back. And then, yeah,
That is a
there's
great
so much we can do to stimulate our nerves, our sensory system, and you're just going to feel better every day. You're going to feel better.
That's awesome. So, you've heard, I'm assuming you've heard of grounding. Have you heard of
That's
grounding?
the feet. That is the feet.
All about the feet and people who have been in a lot of pain or have inflammation, they get them to touch the ground. So, for those who don't know what this is, we have lost contact with the physical earth, and that has an effect on our overall body, the body mind complex. And what they have found, I've actually there's some movies, documentaries out there, and of people who have done grounding where they're literally like they're physically touching the earth every day with their feet, and their pain is decreasing, their inflammation is decreasing. I watched one where a guy who was in a wheelchair for, I can't remember, I think it was 30 years or something. He didn't walk for so many years. And they started doing this grounding exercise with him. And within a few months, this guy was up
Wow.
walking the walker.
Isn't
And
that
it was like,
fantastic?
it's because again, the whole sensory thing, we've lost touch with the ground. And especially because of the shoes that we wear, it's a barrier between us and the earth.
Yeah.
So I love the sand idea. That's so
Yeah.
great because again, it's that sensory thing, right? So,
Yeah.
so there's so many things out there you can do to decrease your pain and inflammation, even just by these sensory exercises.
Yeah, the shoes, that's a good point. And if you go to my Facebook page, everybody, actually, either yesterday or the day before, I don't remember, I actually put up a post about how to buy a healthier shoe. So spring is coming. You might want to look at that. It's put up by my instructor of the neurology classes. He talks about what to look for in a shoe that's better for your brain.
Oh, awesome.
Okay, because there's this whole marketing thing now with the thick soles and no, they're not good for you. It's exactly what you're saying. We have to have that contact with the ground. And it's funny you say that because my last summer I did a whole, I don't know, like 10, 15 YouTube things that I called Barefoot in the Park. Because I would just go every day walk barefoot in the park. That's just it.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. So cool. Any other little tips or that we need to kind of recap on? The eye ones are on YouTube.
Everything's on YouTube, but walk barefoot. Listen to Crystal. Walk barefoot. And if walk barefoot, yeah, it's cold in the winter, but in the spring, walk barefoot. I thought everybody would laugh at me if I was walking barefoot in the park. Nobody cared. It was just my brain, right? Nobody would have looked at me.
Yeah.
Just we have to get over our little inhibitions. Walk
Yeah.
barefoot, move your eyes, use your senses. Let's talk about my offer.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about
Our offer.
our offer for sure.
So I I'm passionate about what I do. If you haven't heard it in my voice, I really want to help as many people as possible to understand how important our sensory system is. Because unfortunately, medical professionals and most of the fitness professionals aren't on board yet. They just aren't on board with understanding that it's not just the muscles that we have to work on in the bones, it's also our nervous system. I'm just going to take a sip of tea. So, on March 7th, which is a Wednesday, I'm starting a 6-session program. It'll be March 7th at 1 o'clock for 45 minutes, 6 sessions once a week of helping you to reconnect with your nervous system It's going to be great. I've done this with people who suffer from chronic pain. Excuse me, it's late for me to be talking so much. I'm not used to this at this hour. Um, it's had really, really positive effects. People, like you were saying, who have chronic pain, and they're just like feeling so much better, even though this isn't a course designated exactly for them. Like I wasn't able to do the whole, personal assessment. This is very generic, but the results are just fantastic. You talk for just 1 second.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So she's talking about, sorry, what was the date? It was March the 6th or 7th. Sorry, April. Let me get that
Oh,
correct.
April, sorry, April 7th, moving into movement.
So it's April 7th at 1 p.m. Eastern time, which is 11 p.m. or sorry, let me go backtrack. 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m.
Yeah,
Mountain Time.
PM.
So,
I'm just going to put the link into the chat.
yes, yeah, we'll make sure we put all of that in there.
Here we go.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of what we're doing each week is going to be a little bit different, but it's all around the same.
Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. There we go, chat. That's what I meant to hit. Every week will be a little bit different. The first week, there we go. Did it go in, the whole thing?
I don't see anything yet, but we can make sure it's all there at the end anyway, so not a problem.
There we go. The first week we're going to do what's called a sensory warm-up where we work on the whole face, the body, get the nervous system working, every finger. And then we're going to go through the body joint by joint to make sure that every joint in your body is working in the full range of motion. Because that is the job of our muscles. We should be able to do so many things, even with the wrist, but most of us are like this all day. We have so much mobility, and many times the shoulder hurts, but the problem is here. And when you fix the wrist, everything clears up, or you fix the fingers, or you fix the elbow. So we're going to check out everybody's overall mobility of every joint. Are you able to move your toes? Like we're going to check every joint. So
Awesome.
it's going to be 6 sessions. We're going to do the nervous system. We're going to do the eyes. We're going to do a little bit of hearing stuff. There's some really cool stuff out there today, working with tones, with beats, there's a lot of really interesting stuff with regard to the brain. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to make you feel different. It's going to make you view your body differently.
Awesome. So how do you think, I'm curious about people who have body image issues. What do you think about that? Like in terms of what we're doing? How do you think that could help somebody who might even be struggling with that?
I think when you understand how your body works, your whole body image changes. I have never, since I've been studying, I I don't really work on weight loss because there are people who are super fit who are what the doctors consider overweight. And there are people who are like models and they can't even walk up a flight of stairs.
Right.
So I'm going to make sure that you're healthy. And I believe that when you understand how your body works, when your body does what you want it to do, when your body does the things you want to do, you're going to love your body. The image will come. The image is a big issue just because of our society right now.
Yeah.
And I've got, we started to discuss it. I've got kids in the 18 to 23-year-old range. So they're out of it now, but I've been through that, especially with, having a daughter. I've been through that, the body image business. And it's really unpleasant, the marketing that goes into this. But once you understand your body and it feels good, the rest doesn't matter, does it?
No, I love that. I love that so much that if you can about reconnecting with the senses, reconnecting with our bodies,
Yeah,
and just appreciating what we have. Like we have something to live in, or else we wouldn't be here, you know? And
absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah,
And that's what it's all about, right? I mean, you and I both know as we age, the way we look changes. We transition, our body changes, we go through changes. It is what it is,
yeah,
but it has to work.
right.
We want it to work for us until our last day. We want to be able to live life. And that doesn't have to do with how you look, that has to do with how you feel.
Right. So tell us a little bit more, Anne, about this. So about this 6 week program.
Okay,
So
so the 6 week
starting,
program,
yep,
we
starts
have
April
the 6
7th.
sessions. You will each receive a video recording of the entire sensory warm up, and it's divided into sections. You don't have to do it all at once. You can choose which part of it you want to do at what time, on what day, what feels best for you. There will also be a 30-minute complimentary consultation with me. And I'm so excited, you're also going to get, if you do the pre registration, which starts today, this hasn't gone out yet to the public. It's going out on Monday. If you pre register, you're going to get a 30-minute consultation also with Crystal. I think I'm going to register for that. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah. And so what
that's a
we're going to
big
be talking.
package.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just want to say that's a big package.
Yes, it is. And how much is it?
Normally, I charge for this before COVID, pre COVID, this was at $200 for the session. $25 for the video, and a half hour with me would be $50. I'm so passionate. I want you guys to sign up and to feel better. I'm providing this for just $97 for the whole package.
Great.
It's
Wow.
I
Thank you.
yeah,
So $97 to really help you get in touch with your body, get your senses going, which actually is going to help you feel great. The whole point of this too, like she was saying, is there's several issues where we don't feel safe, but the issue is that, you know, we're going into this mode where we're bent over all the time. So getting us out of that space so we recognize that we're safe
yeah.
and we can really have more pleasure, we can enjoy life. And yeah, so I think that is so great, Anne. And in terms of a consultation with you, what are you going to be discussing with the person?
That's going to be, I can't really answer that ahead of time. I think every person has different concerns, and I want to address the most important concern of that person.
Okay.
Obviously, over Zoom, everything is different. But if there is even a small issue that we're able to address and resolve, it might even be resolved by my saying, I know a great therapist in your area.
Right.
Because I'm all about collaborating. I'm all about saying, I can't tell you how many times I've told people, I'm not the best person for you, but there's a pelvic physiotherapist I'm going to refer you to, or a neurophysiotherapist I'm going to refer you to, or Crystal with Body Talk I'm going to refer you to, because I want each person to get the very best therapy for their problem. And if I'm the best person, I'll tell you I am. But if I'm not the best person, I will also tell you that.
Right, right. I love that. And I feel the same way. You know, it's like everybody needs maybe something different and
Yeah.
it's unique to each person. And I think for the 30-minute consultation with me, we would be talking about maybe an area of pain, could be mental, emotional, or physical, and maybe some of the underlying causes. So part of what we deal with in Body Talk is the underlying causes of chronic pain, of stress, of illness. And so, you know, my desire would be to maybe help address or maybe help bring awareness to some other things that could be actually adding to the pain, and looking at how we can resolve that as well. So yeah, so I'm excited about it. It's going to be really, really
Very
great.
excited. Yeah, it's
Awesome.
oh, we have so much work ahead of us post COVID. Come on, everybody. We've got to get out of our houses. We've got to get out of this fear. We've got to start to feel good again. Your immune system is the best defense you have against every disease. Let's get it going.
Yeah. So I love that, right? And part of that is we need exposure to things, right? Just as our senses need exposure.
Hug a tree.
Go hug a tree. I know people who literally, I've seen things that posts on Facebook, and people are literally going and hugging trees and feeling trees, like feeling the different barks of the trees.
Do it. It's so cool. It feels so good. And did you know that even in winter the trees are warm?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I discovered that this year.
Oh,
It's gonna was wrong.
awesome. That is so great.
Yeah.
And any last comments or thoughts that you would like to leave with our group tonight?
Enrich your senses, whether it's music, whether it's looking at beautiful things. Lift up your eyes to the trees, to the birds, to the sky, to the sounds that we hear outside. Just go outside, enrich your senses. Nature has everything we need. We have to get out of our houses. Just feel, touch, see, hear. Your brain will thank you. You're going to feel great. That's it.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you,
Thank
Anne.
you. Thank you so much. I've so enjoyed this evening. I'm so grateful to you.
This was a lot of fun. And yeah, I just so appreciate your insight. And I bring people on because they're smarter than me in certain areas. You saw I failed the test. You know, she asked me questions.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. I'm totally joking, but you know, like, but the reality is I don't know everything, but you have knowledge that, you know, can really be added. And I'm probably going to have Anne help with some posting and stuff in the group. So in the wellness group, because she's got so many great insights and things that can help people. And we're all about wellness. And so, yeah, so I really want to encourage you guys. You heard what she said, that, you know, what she is offering is worth more than, it's probably more than $200 in terms of her insight and what she knows, and what, you know, the specialty that she offers. It's different from physio, it's different from chiro, it's different from all these things, you know. And I love that. You know, we need all of these different types of modalities for different things and different reasons. And so I just want to invite everyone to Anne's program starting April the 7th. It's $97. It's 6 weeks. You get videos, you get consultations, and you get time with her, you know, and you're going to love it. I know that you're going to love it. And we need this. We really need this. And thank you so much for your time, for your wisdom. And I look forward to collaborating with you. Thank you to all of our guests who have been watching. And for those who are watching later on, please just hit #replay. If you have questions for Anne, you know, I will make sure that I get those questions to her, and we'll post all of the information in the links. And we'll probably have a poster and the sign up, you know, the ability to register as well. So we'll make sure all that's available to you. And have a wonderful night. If you need help, please reach out. We are here for you. And yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Anne. Good to chat with you. And I'm going to stop the recording, and have a good night, everybody. Bye for now.